It's funny, I came up with the IWB straps for putting on a gun real fast to conceal it. And it's been a very successful addition to this holster. More for my convenience. It's after I tucked a sourdough in my jeans to go to town in Alaska. And while it was legally concealed, it was pretty embarrassing when I was wearing BDUs. They're fairly loose.
Yeah.
And it slid down my leg at the cash register.
You had to kick it out.
And fortunately, it wedged in the cuff like this in the holster.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm walking out, it's going ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk with every step. People are looking at me, and I'm like exaggerating my lips.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, all right, I got to fix this.
Yeah.
I'm going to bolt these little straps on there.
There you go.
But that was the invention of the IWB straps. Changed the whole nature of this holster and added to its versatility. Like, dumb things I've done. So, okay. We're going to roll now?
Yeah, well, we've been rolling, so.
Yeah.
This is the B-reel.
I first met Jeff Quinn in a gay whorehouse in San Francisco. We were doing a drug raid, and there he was. No,
Yeah.
But,
Oh, no.
yeah.
We'll just post that. We'll just post that instead.
Yes. For the record, Jeff was a dear friend, and he said that about me.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
In my first interview, and that was his opening line. So I'm trying to recover.
Yeah.
People are going, I think he's going to have a heart attack. He already did.
Yeah.
Okay. The origins of the sourdough pancake. So, in the late 50s, early 60s, best I can tell, Roy Baker is living in southern Illinois, and he was building holsters mostly for law enforcement officers. Those were guys that carried concealed in the 50s and 60s, more so than citizens. And he wanted a holster that was high ride and rode the gun in close to your body. I bought this holster in 1982 outside the main gate of Fort Huachuca, where I was an MP stationed there at the time. It was a great holster. I had a pair of end frames that were 4-inch, and I could conceal either one under my shirt with this holster. And, you know, this is a holster that was made in the early 80s and worn for years by me and several different people, a friend and his brother-in-law. I finally retrieved it back about 07. And that's quite the ordeal to get this good holster back. But because it was missing, I had to fabricate my own. And what I came up with is this design that eliminated the thumb brake. And I wanted the simplicity of no thumb brake, but I wanted the trigger guard and cylinder and sight and hammer spur protected. So the whole thing came up like that. This design was in demand by my customers when I was managing a sporting goods store, the good old Husky Sport Shop in Moscow, Idaho. Many of my hunting partners and customers saw this and wanted their own version. So I started making these by hand at home and selling them to my customers. 2004, looking for a way to make my own living and not working for anybody else, I started making these full-time. First in Arizona, later in Alaska, and they became wildly popular thanks to Jeff Quinn, Michael Bain, and the late, great John Taffin. Anyways, it's been wonderful. We've been building these for years. We still build them every day. We build them for everything from a 2-inch K to a 9.5-inch Super Red Hawk. A lot of big hunting pistols, outdoor self-defense guns, and smaller personal defense guns, like duty weapons and things like that. We make a similar holster called the Silver Dollar for smaller guns, Colt D frames and Kimbers, and the little J frames and SP 101s. It too is very popular and has the same features and benefits of this. one of the things I wanted was nothing to impede the draw. No straps, no flaps, no snaps to undo. Just pull the gun straight out. And it works that way. Something I also wanted was good retention. And I'm going to simulate the retention it offers on the belt by bending this. And just to be clear, I'm not pointing a loaded pistol at my son. Okay?
Or the dog.
Yeah. But anyways, you can see it seated in there very well. The profile of the hammer and trigger guard, and you can just acquire a full firing grasp on the initial draw when you draw it out. And it takes about 1 G of force to get that out without being on a belt. If you put it on a belt, it's going to torque this down this way, and it'll retain the gun very well. But notice I'm torquing on this, holding it upside down. This is not a adequate test, but it just simulates some of the retention capabilities. Okay, I have gotten over the years calls from guys that say, well, I turned the holster upside down and my gun fell out. Were you wearing it? No. Then it doesn't matter. Okay, it's the tension of your belt on there that holds it. Okay,
tell the jet ski story, or the guy that swam across the lake.
No. Part of I knew I was onto something good when Dennis Rivetto, a friend of mine in Troy, Idaho, was out turkey hunting by himself, middle of the week in the spring in North Idaho, and he had his jet boat. And he had a 686, and I'd built him one of these, really inferior leather to what I'm building now. It was like discount Tandy, double shoulder, and it was all hand sewn in those days, but it fit his gun like a glove. And he was turkey hunting. And if anybody knows anything about jet boats, they're either on or off. They don't really idle very well. And he was coming into the dock, and he shut it off, planning to drift into the dock and jump off the dock with the rope to tie it up. And he drifted in, and the boat stopped a little prematurely. And as he made the jump, he lost the bow line of the boat. And he tried to grab it, and he was going to fall in. It was springtime, the water's frigid. He didn't want to fall in, and the boat slowly powered off. And he could see it was headed for a bank on the other side of the bay. And so he ran over there, and as it got closer, you know, the wave action of the water hitting the shore and rebounding turned the boat away. And he had gotten into the water up to his knees. He remembered thinking, I'm not going to swim after it. I'll end up dying. But the boat was so close, he went for it. He swam for it. And he knew this was a do or die situation. You know, if he didn't get that boat before he was exhausted, he was not going to make it back to shore. But he did get the boat and got in the boat, managed to get up in it and guide it towards the dock. He said this time he just crashed it into the dock and got out, lashed it, turned the motor off, and went up to his camper and turned the heater on full blast and laid there curled up next to the heater. He says he woke up about 8 hours later, and says the front of him was all dry and hot, the back of him was soaking wet, and he rolled over to get up, and he heard the grip of his 686 clunk on the floor, and he's like, all that, I still have my pistol. So that was like my first endorsement, and makes me real happy that Dennis survived that. You know, we would have never known what happened to Dennis if he'd have died out in that water, and that his gun retained in my holster. So that holster can be seen on my website, I'm pretty sure still. If not, I'll dig it up and put it on there.
There we go. Just a final summary. 30 seconds.
Okay. So again, I developed the sourdough for my own use, and it became popular with friends and customers. The benefit that I like about it the most is the gun rides close and comfortably. It distributes the weight of a heavy gun, like a 4-inch end frame or 5-inch end frame. Those are the two big revolvers I carry the most. It rides close, so it's not interfering, getting in and out of vehicles, going through the woods. It's not dangling off your hip, you know, like a lot of lesser holsters. And it doesn't snag on brush when you're hunting. And it's just a nice comfortable outdoorsman's and concealed carry holster.
All right. Where can they get it?
SimplyRugged.com on the holster page.
All right.